Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, guys. Tony Ferguson is finally returning in the cage, or should I say the ring, because he's not returning in the UFC, not in an MMA fight. He is fighting Salt Papi, yeah, the Misfits guy, in Misfits and in a boxing fight. Now, let me explain to you why literally everything is wrong with this. This should not happen. We don't want to see like Tony Ferguson, who's probably one of the most beloved fighters of all time, get go out like this. This is what's happening here is immorality at this point. Tony Ferguson should never be fighting Salt Papi. Salt Papi is clearly a decade younger than him. And if it was an MMA fight, I would have completely understand it, because that fight would have actually been competitive, because as we've seen MMA fighters with their MMA gloves off and with the boxing gloves on, completely different. Anderson Silva got beat against Jake Paul. So yeah, Anderson Silva, the guy who has like clearly the greatest UFC fighter of all time. Like he has the longest winning streak and the most knockouts, I think. Anyways, no, I apologize. Anyways, Tony Ferguson is on an 8-fight win streak in the UFC. I know you have probably heard that a lot of times, but more than anything, this fight will not end well. Will not end well for Tony Ferguson, nor for us UFC fans or even boxing fans, because Salt Papi, like he's such a chill guy, like he's a good guy, like he's a very likable guy. But what he's doing now, and how it's pretty bad, like how this fight is being promoted. KSI is saying this over and over again that this is a 50-50 fight. Anyone can win. Now that's just his way of avoiding his real thoughts, which we all know, which is that Salt Papi will knock out Tony Ferguson, and then Salt Papi will be super marketable because he knocked out a UFC legend. That's it. This entire card, like the main event, co-main event, pretty messed up, because we all know, like we all seen how Darren Till is really good in boxing and in Misfits. He knocked out Anthony Taylor. Yeah, he's probably at the time he was probably like the greatest Misfits fighter. Like during the time when he knocked out Anthony Taylor, and he also knocked out no, he didn't knock out. He also beat Darren Stewart a few days ago, a few months ago, should I say. Anyways, right now, like Luke Rockhold, Darren Till is fighting Luke Rockhold. Yeah, Luke Rockhold, he is a former champion. He is a very good striker, but against Darren Till, he won't stand a chance, because Darren Till has that boxing experience which Luke Rockhold does not have, obviously. So yeah, I think Darren Till will most likely knock out Luke Rockhold. But anyways, more than that, let's talk about this way: Tony Ferguson versus Salt Papi. I cannot. It's very unfortunate, but I'm a huge boxing fan, a huge Misfits fan, and a huge MMA fan, UFC fan, and I cannot imagine how Tony Ferguson can beat Salt Papi, especially by seeing how good Salt Papi has looked in his recent fights, especially against what's his name, like Ferrari, that guy, and a lot of other fighters. Against King Kenny. So you really have to think, like Tony Ferguson, he's on an 8-fight win streak. He probably took the most damage out of any UFC fighter, because he's obviously a long time fighter. He has been fighting in the UFC for a while, and even in his legendary 12 fight win streak, he was taking a lot of damage. Like the edits of him, those are so amazing. Like he's just fully bloodied and he's like up for more. But the thing is, like he took so much damage that at this point I don't think his body can even hold up, because Salt Papi, like he's much younger, much more experienced in boxing, not MMA, and right now, as I said, Tony really should not be fighting Salt Papi at all. And for Salt Papi, more than anything, this is a very bad look for Misfits. And Misfits, they have at this point became so pathetic and so desperate. Like with their biggest star KSI being injured, they're literally pulling every single immoral act that they can to make stars and make money. KSI KSA and pretty much everyone else has been criticizing Jake Paul for the longest time for fighting old and retired and out of prime, UFC fighters, MMA legends, Anderson Silva, Tyron Woodley, Ben Askren. So KSI has been criticizing Jake for all of this. Now KSI, a few months ago, KSI announced like the 4 people who he offered to fight, and all of them apparently denied the fights. And you wanna know what those four guys are? Donald Cowboy Cerrone, Nate Diaz, Jorge Masvidal, and I forgot the other guy, and Tony Ferguson, yeah, and Tony Ferguson. All of these four guys, they're retired, they're old, they're out of prime UFC fighters, MMA fighters. What the hell? Like you cannot make this shit up. KSI, he is criticizing Jake for not fighting actual boxers, professional boxers, and fighting MMA fighters. Meanwhile, the four guys that he did send the fight to are the MMA guys, former UFC legends actually. Nate Diaz, Jorge Masvidal, they're UFC like very beloved champions, back in the day. So now, and also like in Misfits, the fight like the biggest fights are old MMA fighters versus up and coming Misfits superstars. Like this is so frustrating what Misfits is doing right now, and they should realize that. I don't understand if they realize this or not, but we can see through their fake mask. We can understand that what they're doing is absolutely shit, and this is worse than anything that Jake Paul has ever done, other than the Mike Tyson, because that's completely bullshit. Other than that, this is way worse than anything Jake Paul has ever done. So you have to really think about that, because like this, like I cannot describe to you guys like how pissed off me as a huge Misfits fan. I'm still a huge Misfits fan, but how frustrated I got after looking at this announcement. Luke Rockford versus Darren Till, understandable. They're both like, Luke is a former UFC undisputed champion, so, and he's not that out of prime, so very understandable. And Darren Till is also like a failed Misfits champion, so failed UFC champion, so completely understandable. But Tony Ferguson versus Salt Papi, this, if like originally it was rumored that it would be KSI versus Tony Ferguson, and at this point I'm just glad that did not happen. I'm honestly glad that did not happen. But this KSI versus, every single guy who is like working with Misfits, Ben Davis, Fox the Jeep, Wade, even a lot of the guys, like they are trying their best to cover up everything that's wrong with this fight, which is Tony Ferguson being old, Tony Ferguson being on a eight fight losing streak. They are not even talking about those things. I'm just like so angry. Like, how can these people be genuine combat sports fan and promoting this shit and saying that this shit is a huge fight, it will be competitive, and it's like it's very entertaining for it. It's not. We don't want to see Tony Ferguson get knocked out. And trust me, if Tony Ferguson somehow wins, you guys can destroy me. I don't give a shit, because I genuinely believe Tony Ferguson has zero chance against Salt Papi. Like, honestly, because Salt Papi, even if it was like a low-level Misfits fighter but a huge star, for example, like what is his name, Danny Adams, for example, he's a huge star but very low-level fighter, that would have been understandable. But Salt Papi, who is genuinely a good boxer and definitely has a bright future, this is ruining the reputation of Misfits, Mamster, KSI, all of the influencers I mentioned, and even Salt Papi. This should not happen. Anyways, that's my thoughts on this, guys. You guys make sure to let me know what you guys think, definitely, and inshallah I will see you guys next time. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.